Alright, what is already Pretender here, back with another Honkai Star Guide, and we are finally getting to the full build guide for the upcoming 2.1 character, Acheron. Acheron is probably and going to be one of the most hyped characters to come to Honkai Star for a long time. I already have tons of guides going over her best teammates, the builds for them, all that kind of stuff, free-to-play alternative guides, pre-farm guides, all that kind of stuff is on the channel. Definitely check those out, but in this video, I'm going to be going over how you pretty much want to be building her optimally. I'm obviously going to cover multiple options, just like how I do my other build guides, providing different Lightcones, different relics, the stats you want on them, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, before I get to the video, guys, say drop a like on the video, hit the sub button, turn on the bell icon for future videos like this, along with other types of guides, showcases, summons, all that kind of stuff. I do plan on making a guide for every 2.1 character, just like I did for 2.0. Right now, here we are with Acheron. I'm going to do one for Luotra next, then the boy Aventurin, and then Jinglu. All that will be coming out throughout the course of this week, so definitely stay tuned for that, and let's get straight into the video. So Acheron is a lightning nihility character. Her basic attack deals lightning damage equal to 100% of Acheron's attack to a single target enemy. Her skill gains 1 point of Slash Dream, inflicts 1 stack of Crimson Knot on a single target enemy, dealing lightning damage equal to 160% of Acheron's attack to this target, as well as lightning damage equal to 60% of attack to adjacent targets, so she is AoE. Now her ultimate, which everything gets interesting. Her ultimate sequentially unleash Rainblade 3 times and Stygian Research 1 time, dealing lightning damage equal up to 372% of Acheron's attack to a single target enemy, as well as lightning damage up to 300% of Acheron's attack to other targets. Rainblade deals lightning damage equal to 24% of Acheron's attack to a single target enemy and removes up to 3 stacks of Crimson Knot from the target. When Crimson Knot is removed, immediately deals lightning damage equal to 15% of Acheron's attack to all enemies. For every stack of Crimson Knot removed, the damage multiplier for this additionally increased up to a maximum of 60%. Stygian Research deals lightning damage equal to 120% of Acheron's attack to all enemies and removes all Crimson Knots. Crimson Knot cannot be applied to the enemies during the ultimate. As it does say, from a sequence you will be doing the AoE ult. As you see, we have the numbers here, all this stuff, the research, bunch of things. Pretty much you will ult, you'll be in the ultimate form, you'll attack once, and then you can hit that button again to do the next sequence, and then you can hit the button again to do the last sequence. And then obviously you will go back to base form. Now her talent. When Slash Dream reaches 9 points, the ultimate can be activated. Pretty much, just for clarification, if you don't know, Acheron will not be functioning like a regular character. She does not function off energy, so yes, this does mean Tingyu and Alt cannot help her, all that kind of stuff. She will be gaining Slash Dream, and once you get to 9 points, as it says, then you are able to use her ultimate. As it did say, the skill does give 1 point. This talent will further, that I'm about to get to, explain how you get more stacks. During the ultimate, reduces enemies' toughness regardless of weakness types and reduces all enemies' all-type res by 20%, lasting until the end of the ultimate. Now on how you can get those stacks. When any unit inflicts a debuff on an enemy target while using their ability, Acheron gains 1 point of Slash Dream and inflicts 1 stack of Crimson Knot on the target. If debuffs are inflicted on multiple targets, then the 1 stack of Crimson Knot will be inflicted on the target with the most Crimson Knot stacks. This effect can only be triggered once per every ability usage. After an enemy target exits the field or gets defeated by any unit while Acheron is on the field, their Crimson Knot stacks will be transferred to the enemy target with the most Crimson Knot stacks on the whole field. So yeah, pretty much what you want to be doing is having units that inflict debuffs, mainly nihility debuffers. Why nihility? We'll get into that soon. I do, again, have multiple videos covering on how you can get around those, all those kind of options you have. Definitely check those out. Now for our technique, immediately attacks the enemy. At the start of each wave, gains, I'm not going to try to say that, I'm just going to say Ascendance, dealing lightning damage equal to 200% of Acheron's attack to all enemies and reducing toughness of all enemies irrespective of weakness types. When weakness is broken, triggers the lightning weakness break effect. Ascendance, after using ultimate, Acheron gains 1 point of Slash Dream and inflicts 1 stack of Crimson Knot on a single random enemy. If attacking a normal enemy, immediately defeats them without entering combat. When not hitting any enemies, no technique points are consumed. Yes, so overworld enemies also does work in Simulator Universe. If you attack a regular enemy, you will kill them. Saves so much time. Godly farming unit, no cap. And now her bonus abilities. Her first one, when the Rain Blade from Acheron's ultimate hits enemy targets with Crimson Knot, her damage increases by 30%, stacking up to 3 times and lasting for 3 turns. And when Sticking and Research triggers, additionally deals damage for 6 times. Each time deals lightning damage equal to 25% of Acheron's attack to a single random enemy and is viewed as part of the ultimate damage. Now, our second bonus ability, which is where the restriction part comes in. When there are 1 or 2 Nihility characters other than Acheron in the team, the damage dealt by Acheron's basic attack, skill, or ultimate increases to 115% or 160% of the original damage respectively. So what this means is if you have 1 other Nihility character that isn't Acheron on the team, you will get a 115% damage dealt bonus, and if you have 2, that becomes 160. And so the whole thing with Acheron is you would have 1 character being Acheron herself, then you run 2 Nihility characters, and then the last slot is whatever, usually the sustain. Has raised a lot of concerns. I have videos going over it. Again, check those out if you are interested. And a third bonus ability, when the battle starts, immediately gains 5 points of Slash Stream and applies 5 stacks of Crimson Knot to a random enemy. So yes, when you do go into battle, you start with 5 stacks for the ultimate. When Slash Stream reaches its upper limit, for every point of Slash Stream that exceeds the limit, gains 1 stack of Ascendance, increases the maximum stack will count for Ascendance to 3. Pretty much what that means is once you do have 9 stacks, you can gain a total of 3 extra stacks going over the amount. So let's say you have 9 and you inflict 1, 2, 3 debuffs. Every time you inflict this, so you technically have the 9 and you can ult any time, but you'd have 3 over. So when you do ult, after you're finished ulting, you would have those 3 stacks that you had over the limit already be available for your next section for the ultimate. For the most part, you will just ult right away, but there are sometimes you'll want to save it, so having the overcap is nice. Now going over her Eidolons, which this won't be quick because her Eidolons are very important. So our first Eidolon, crit rate increases by 18% when dealing damage to debuff enemies, which for the most part you'll always be doing, so free 18% crit rate. Now our second Eidolon, which is what makes a lot of people want E2 because it is insanely good. The number of Nihility characters required for the trace The Abyss to achieve its highest possible effect is reduced by 1. What this means is, remember how I mentioned how you need 2 Nihility characters to get the 160% damage dealt? With E2, you now only need 1 other Nihility character to get 160. This is what opens more team pets because for the most part, you won't be running a Harmony character unless you do some stuff like Sustain Well. So for the most part, you will not be having a Harmony support, but with this one, this needs you to only run 1 other Nihility teammate. So you'd have Acheron, a Nihility teammate, Harmony support, and a Sustain. That's why E2 alone is extremely valuable. When this unit's turn starts, gains 1 point of Slash Stream and inflicts 1 stack of Crimson Knot on the enemy target with the most Crimson Knot stacks. So yeah, also when your turn starts for Acheron, so when she is going up next, she gets a stack for her ultimate, which is really good, and also inflicts a stack of Crimson Knot on the person with the most stacks. So E2 is just absolutely insane and opens a lot more possible pathways with her and her teams. Her fourth Eidolon, when enemy targets enter combat, makes them vulnerable to ultimate damage, increasing the amount of damage they take from the ultimate by 8%. And now her final Eidolon. What it does is increases the all-type res pen for the ultimate damage dealt by Acheron by 20%. The damage dealt by basic attack and skill will also be considered ultimate damage and can reduce the enemy's toughness regardless of weakness types. Yes, so with E6, she is a rainbow DPS. She can reduce the enemy's toughness regardless of them being weak to lightning or not. When weakness is broken, triggers the lightning weakness break effect. So her 6th Eidolon turns her into quite literally a rainbow DPS. You ever played Dokkan before and heard the term of attacks effective against all types? That is quite literally what she is. But in Star Rail, that's like 20 million times more insane. So her E6 pretty much just makes her uncontested best DPS in the game, I'd have to say. Even comparing to other characters like E6 Jiglu, E6 Dodek, I still think she would take number 1 just because of that. Now moving on to her Lightcones, her signature Lightcone, which sadly there is not too many options for her Lightcones. Her signature Lightcone does so much for her and it's just such a big jump in value for her as a character. And the other options you have besides the main MC and like one other one isn't too good. So that's why Acheron is just sort of in this rough side where people are hoping that she might get a free one soon. So what her Lightcone does is increases the wearer's crit damage by 36%. So you have a 30% stack stick to crit damage, which is nice. When the wearer hits an enemy target, it inflicts empty bubbles on the enemy lasting for 1 turn. This effect can be triggered 1 time against each target for every attack the wearer launches. The wearer deals 24% more damage to targets afflicted with empty bubbles, and damage from the wearer's ultimate additionally increases by 24%. Empty Bubbles is also considered a debuff, so not only are you getting a bunch of damage dealt for both just her general damage and her ultimate, a stat stick to crit damage, she now has the ability to apply a debuff. So when you do apply this debuff with her skill or ultimate, you do gain a point of slash dream. So you combine this with the skill because the skill just gives her a stack. It's not considered a debuff or anything. So if you proc the debuff from this Lightcone with her skill, she gets 2 stacks. Usually for the most part, she can only gain 1 per action. But with this Lightcone, her skill gives 2. And then her basic attack, if you hit someone with it, can give 1, making her a little more skill point positive if you don't end up using her skill. But for the most part, you'll be using her skill. But this Lightcone is just absolutely insane. Giving her the ability to apply a debuff is massive. Especially one that is not dot because she is Nihility, and Nihility is mostly known for dot. So this Lightcone is just absolutely insane. Another pretty much second best option you can do for her, which is like practically her only other like really good option, is Good Night and Sleep Well. What it does is for every debuff the target has, the damage dealt by the wearer increases by 12%, stacking up to 3 times, and also applies a dot. And because you're running her with a debuffer team, this is very easy to have stacked up. At R1, stacking up to 3 times means you can get up to a 36% damage dealt. And at R5, the damage dealt you get is increased by pretty much just double. So now you have 24%, and that means it can go up to 72%. So this is just a really massive increase to the damage dealt, and this is practically the only other really good option for her. Another alright option you can use for her own self-damage is Wild Signature Lightcone, and what it does is increases the wearer's damage to debuffed enemies by 24%, which again, will practically always be the case because they will always be debuffed. When the wearer uses a skill, the effect hit rate for this attack increases by 18%, attack increases by 24%. So for the most part, the skill part is nice. You get an effect hit rate for it, which for the most part doesn't really matter for her because she doesn't need effect hit rate. But your skill will hit a bit harder, and then your overall damage against debuffed enemies will increase. Not by too much as if this was for the ultimate too, because if it also applied to the ultimate, the second part, it would be a lot better. But sadly, it's only for the skill, so you're mainly just getting the 24% damage to debuffed enemies, but her skill can also hit decently hard, so it isn't a terrible option. It just doesn't compare to Good Night and Sleep Well, and does not come anywhere near to her signature Lightcone. Sadly, as I mentioned, there isn't too many Lightcone options, but if you have one of these, it is possible to work with. And now moving on to her best relic. So her best relic set will be the Pioneer Diver of Dead Waters, which I will refer to as the debuff set. The 2-piece increases damage to enemies with debuffs by 12%, and the 4-piece increases crit rate by 4%. The wearer deals 8%/12% increased crit damage to enemies with at least 2/3 debuffs. So pretty much if they have 2 debuffs, you will deal 8% more crit damage, and if they have 3, you deal 12% more crit damage. After the wearer inflicts a debuff on enemy targets, the aforementioned effects increase by 100%, lasting for 1 turn. Sadly, if you do not have her own Lightcone, you can't really have the second part of the 4-piece activate, but it is still overall going to be your best one because just the debuff part is really easy on her team, and it's just very easy to have most of this up, even if you don't have her Lightcone, because the other characters will be debuffing. But you won't be able to get the aforementioned effects increased by 100% unless you have her signature Lightcone, because all the other Nihility Lightcones that may inflict some form of debuff isn't that great for her especially. But overall, it's still the best one. Another thing you can do is rock the Lightning set 2-piece with 2-piece Musketeers. So what you would be getting is a lightning damage increase by 10%, and with Musketeers you'd be getting a 12% attack increase. So 2-piece of this is also very nice because she is dealing lightning damage, and she could also benefit from some more attacks. So Musketeers with the lightning set is another option. As for the planet ornaments, the best one will be the one that we will be getting in 2.1. So currently it is not farmable, but when 2.1 drops, there will be a new world for Simulated Universe where this will be available. What it does is increases the wearer's attack by 12%. When entering battle, if at least one other ally follows the same path as the wearer, then the wearer's crit rate increases by 12%. This is very nice because you are getting a 12% increase in attack, which is going to be nice for Acheron because you already get a bunch of crit damage. And you will always have another Nihility, at least one, even with E2, you will have one other Nihility character on the team. So this will be very easy to have, giving you a whole 12% crit rate, which is very, very nice. So overall, this will be the best one. Another very good one for her, if you can hit the speed thresholds, will be Glamoth, and what it does is increases the wearer's attack by 12%. When the wearer's speed is equal to or higher than 135/160, the wearer deals 12%/18% more damage. This one will be nice because again, you're getting a 12% attack increase, and as I said, the crit damage you get from Acheron is already pretty high, and having some extra damage dealt is very nice, especially in Starro. So with Glamoth getting a 12%/18% more damage increase, but again, that's only if you are able to hit the 135/160 thresholds. If you can, then Glamoth becomes great, especially if you can get her up to 160, which will prove to be a bit difficult, especially with not being able to have a Harmony under your team for the most part, unless you have E2 and you do something like that. but 135 with the 12% damage down is still very good, so Glamoth is another fantastic option. And another pretty good option for Acheron will be Inner Salsado, because what it does is increases the wearer's crit rate by 8%, and when the wearer's current crit rate reaches 50% or higher, the wearer's ultimate and follow-up damage increases by 15%. So you won't be getting anything from the follow-up damage, but you will be getting a 50% increase to your ult. And for most part, the ultimate will be where your damage is at. So getting a nice 50% damage increase for your ultimate is going to be really nice. So that's why Inner Salsado is another option if you do have good pieces. And then obviously everyone's favorite Space Sealing Station is another option if you just have pieces laying around or you don't have any other ones, because what it does is increases the wearer's attack by 12%, and when the wearer's speed reaches 120 or higher, the wearer's attack increases by an extra 12%. So up to a 24% attack increase is nice. So if you do have some nice planet ornaments for Space Sealing Station and you don't have any of the other ones, it is a option. But again, I would recommend just waiting for the new set to come out, because this will be the best one for her. If you have good pieces for Glamoth, this one's going to be really nice, and if you can hit the speed thresholds, obviously. And then Inner Salsado is a nice option you can do. Again, if you have nice pieces, same with Space Sealing Station. And so for the main sets for the body, you're mainly going to be wanting to run crit rate, just because she gets enough crit damage from her own kit and just from how much you can get from substats. Obviously, if you have enough crit rate from substats alone, and if you are going to be waiting for the new set, if you can get up to 60% to 70% crit rate just from that, you can go ahead and do crit damage body. That also works. For the feat, the main stat honestly depends for what I know. For the most part, you will probably want to be doing speed, just because more turns, more damage, obviously. But let's say you are running E2, and your team is something like Acheron, Nihility Debuffer, and a support such as Bronya or Sparkle where you give an action forward. In that case, you can actually be fine with running attack percent. I say attack percent if you are running them with them, just because if you are having action forward, you'll be getting another turn, whether you use Sparkle or Bronya, assuming your stuff is tuned correctly. You'll benefit more from the attack percent just dealing more damage overall, because for the most part you'll always have the Harmony support do the action forward, giving Acheron another turn, so speed won't be too beneficial on that, so that's where you can actually run attack percent. For the planar ornaments, for the orb you'll be rocking lightning damage, and for the link rope you'll be rocking attack percent. As for the substats, mainly you'll be wanting to get crit rate and crit damage respectively on what you need more. Crit rate and crit damage is what you'll benefit off the most. Past that will be attack percent. And anything after attack percent just for more damage will just be something like break effect, because with more break effect you can do more damage to reduce toughness. With how many times she attacks in a sequence, break effect will also be pretty beneficial. So mainly you're going to be wanting crit rate and crit damage, past that is attack percent for more damage, and then past that is just break effect. And so yeah, that is the full build guide on what you want to be doing for your Acheron. I will have a newer updated version for when Acheron comes out and everyone gets playtest, including me as well. And so I will have more guides for her coming out in the near future. So definitely stay tuned for that. Let me know if you guys will be summoning, and for the question of the day, what are you hoping for in the Elden Ring DLC Shadows of the Erdtree? I am hoping for, at the end of the DLC, we'll be able to fight Miquella, because if we do get to fight Miquella, it'd probably be a sick battle just like how Malenia was. And so I'm really hoping that we get to fight Miquella at the end. Yeah, let me know, and hope you guys found the video helpful, and peace out.